great day.
You too. Yeah.
You know, people already have a hard time before Election Day making sure that they get full information, nonpartisan information on the issues, prepare themselves to vote. So on voting day, the last thing you want is for them to feel like they need to overcome all these challenges to submit their ballot, to make their voice heard.
Historically, voting systems have been designed around the regulatory requirements, what the law says about how to deliver elections, but no one had really stopped and looked at voting systems, the actual equipment, the ballot design, and everything around that from the perspective of the voter. What does the voter think? So VSAP flipped that on its edge and said, let's start with that.
Durante 35 años, los votantes del condado de Los Ángeles utilizaron el sistema de tarjetas perforadas Vote-O-Matic. En el 2003, el lápiz óptico fue reemplazado por rotuladores e Incavote. Fue la forma en que elegimos presidentes y juntas escolares y decidimos más de 450 propuestas. Pero con cada ciclo electoral quedó claro que la tecnología de votación se había salido de sintonía con las necesidades de los votantes.
In every election, you know something's going to happen, you just don't know what.
Charles Stewart es el codirector del proyecto de tecnología de votación Caltech MIT y brindó su experiencia al condado de Los Ángeles durante las primeras etapas de la iniciativa VSAP.
You have to be agile in this environment because there's new ways either to screw up or there's new ways for people to cast doubt on the outcome.
Estudios han demostrado que a la gente le preocupan mucho las elecciones. Les interesa mucho los candidatos y los temas en la boleta electoral. Pero, en cada paso del proceso se preguntan, ¿vale la pena el esfuerzo? Decidir por quién y qué votar es solo el primer obstáculo. Cómo y dónde votar añade otro obstáculo más.
Where this started was a desire to create a voting experience, so something more than just technology and systems, but a voting experience that has the ability to measure up to the significance of voting, the fact that in the act of voting that we're doing something very individualized, but it has a cumulative impact.
You know, at the end of the day, we're all voters and we all face the same challenges: time, education, access. We all just want to be able to know where we can vote, have it be a place where we feel safe and we can get to relatively quick. And when we walk out, we feel like we trusted the process and we know that our vote has been cast.
El proceso para diseñar un nuevo sistema de votación comenzó con Open Design Search, quienes lanzaron una amplia red y recopilaron información de una amplia gama de expertos, diseñadores y el público en general.
So where do we stand today? This is our latest prototype. This is a more sophisticated prototype. It's not fully functional, but it is something that we can take out to voters, walk them through what that voting experience would look like.
He started by really getting to know the voters, the various interest groups, the people who had, ideas about what Los Angeles needed for voting, and then use that to develop a set of principles. I mean, he built this slowly and carefully in a way that so few projects have the luxury of doing, and so few project leaders have the patience to do.
Thanks for coming to vote today. There is a touch screen in front of you and a paper tray to the right. Your ballot is now loading.
The interesting thing about the project, of course, I don't live inside Dean's head, but I know at the beginning Dean was very interested in the user experience.
We literally had people in our first forum when we started this project who I would say were pretty active critics of our operation and critics of the systems that were previously used for voting. We wanted them at the table.
IDEO es una empresa de diseño global con sede en Silicon Valley. Fue contratado como socio de diseño para trabajar con la Oficina del Registro Civil del Condado de Los Ángeles y los comités asesores de partes interesadas para diseñar el concepto, el aspecto y la sensación de este sistema de votación. Un sistema modular que podría adaptarse con el tiempo.
Dean is taking a major risk, and the risk isn't
like that he's doing something wild and dangerous. The risk is that he's doing something radical to improve a fundamental part of our democratic system. But no one else wants to do that, and especially a system as large as Los Angeles County.
Excuse me, do you have ink a vote?
If you think about designing for equity in voting, so you think about starting with the people who have been most underserved by the process.
Designing for the voter experience or the customer experience is actually bringing somebody in who has those needs and having them interact with the equipment and realizing that it doesn't matter if it's the right height, if it doesn't feel comfortable for that person, or if it doesn't give them the sense of privacy or the independence that it gives any other voters.
Our number one goal is a private and independent voting experience.
Say, like when it says the thing about customize, right. I couldn't reach that selection.
Como defensor del derecho al voto de la organización Disability Rights California, Gabe Taylor aportó una perspectiva necesaria al proyecto VSAP. Él recuerda una de las primeras sesiones de ideas en IDEO.
You know, people would be chiming in with the idea of like, you know, I would want greater sensitivity on the touch screen. I would want larger keys on the keypad. I would want, and as people would suggest different ideas, someone from the IDEO team would just be popping up Post-it notes. And it was the first time that I ever really felt like this was a project where everybody had a say in this design.
You not only have to think just about what the machine looks like, you have to think about whether it's going to fit in a warehouse. You're going to have to think about, you know, the tubs that you put the ballots in, that you have a chain of custody process to ensure that you can account for all this paper that's floating around the system. So just the logistics that voters almost never see.
El desafío de llevar a cabo una elección exitosa en el condado de Los Ángeles es enorme.
I think a lot of people don't realize the size and scope of Los Angeles County. So we have more registered voters in this single county than 42 of the states have statewide.
Yeah, Dean always likes to remind us, you know, if we were a state, we'd be the seventh largest state and all that. So, you know, it's a lot of people.
Con muchas necesidades diferentes. Y el dispositivo que marca las papeletas de votación, conocido como BMD, tendría que ser adaptable, accesible y seguro.
So this is the looks like prototype, almost finished, and then this is the final design that we ultimately have as the design validation unit. So this actually matches the specifications that we will put into the documentation when we actually go out to find somebody to manufacture the devices.
Se otorgó un contrato de fabricación a Smartmatic por 31,000 VSAP BMDs. Al mismo tiempo, el entorno de votación estaba experimentando algunos cambios dramáticos, impulsados en parte por la histórica ley Voters' Choice Act que la legislatura de California aprobó en el 2016.
What was great about it is it really enabled us to take our vision and the work that we put together on VSAP and accelerate that into the development phase of our system, because then we had the regulatory framework that would allow us to deliver on that research and design that we had been working on for so long.
The election is just around the corner, and Los Angeles County has a new way for voters to make their voices heard. New Los Angeles County vote centers are located throughout the county. Cast your ballot near your home, work, or favorite park.
VSAP was designed to work within the Voters' Choice Act, which is something we've never seen before. Being able to design an entire administration towards how voting was going to be.
Hey, from the Carson Community Center, check this out. This is what the new voting machine is going to look like for 2020. They're having mock elections throughout the city and county of Los Angeles to give you a chance to learn how to do it. Now voting will come to you. You won't have to go to voting. It's a great system. It's going to revolutionize the way people have a chance to cast their ballot. I love being a part of this.
Al emitir sus votos para elecciones como Mejor Selfie de Los Ángeles y Equipo Deportivo Favorito de Los Ángeles, miles participaron en una elección simulada en preparación para un programa piloto en noviembre del 2019.
This technology was better, so it was a good experience.
My voting experience was awesome. I checked my ballot and there were no mistakes, and I printed it out, cast my vote.
Yes, I did check my ballot.
I did check my ballot before.
The system allowed me to check my ballot. I would make sure that I had everything correct.
Las nuevas máquinas de votación tienen que pasar una serie de pruebas ordenadas por el secretario de Estado de California antes de ser certificadas. Después de las elecciones municipales de noviembre hubo algunos problemas de hardware y software y problemas de seguridad que deberían ser arregladas.
And sure, there were issues and there were questions, and of course the reason you do a pilot is to be a good dress rehearsal and get all those issues out. But no one left saying, what have they been doing for all those years? They left saying, wow, this is easy.
Aún así, con las elecciones primarias de marzo del 2020 a la vuelta de la esquina, la gran pregunta era, ¿sabrán los angelinos qué hacer y a dónde ir?
The great thing was that there were a lot of people that came out to vote. Voter turnout is always important, but we need to ensure that our systems are capable of efficiently processing those voters and making them feel like they have a great experience, but that they can trust that their vote will count and be counted.
There was a major problem on Tuesday, Super Tuesday, with long lines and waits at polling stations throughout Los Angeles County, the largest voting jurisdiction in the nation.
Obviously not the rollout that we had hoped for, but I think it's also important to point out that the majority of the issues that we dealt with today on the technical end related to the check-in process.
Dean Logan, the LA County Registrar, you can almost see that he feels the weight of 4.3 million registered voters in LA County on his shoulders.
Las conversaciones de que VSAP era un sistema de votación del futuro se vieron ensombrecidas en los días que siguieron después de pedidos de revisión de lo que salió mal.
Anytime you take a project like this, something that hasn't been done before, you run the risk of putting yourself out there, and you have to be willing to take those bumps and to risk failure in order to finally get to success. And I think when I look back at March 2020, I think there were a number of things that we learned in that process, a number of things that we could have done better. But the fundamental idea of VSAP, the equipment, the model, it was sound.
What people are left with as an experience, their memory of experience is sort of the last thing that happens. So if they don't get through that polling place smoothly, what they remember was this election didn't go well.
Logan prometió que su oficina se mantendría enfocada en corregir los problemas de las elecciones primarias, pero nadie podría haber predicho los meses de tumulto que seguirían.
Who could have imagined that a decade-long project and then the experience that we went through in March would lead to even more unexpected challenges?
Una pandemia única en nuestras vidas, calles de todo el país llenas de manifestantes, desastres meteorológicos y climáticos que batieron récords. Las campañas de desinformación y las teorías de la conspiración inundaron nuestros feeds de redes sociales.
The 2020 election was challenged by people who wanted to make really outrageous, unfounded criticisms against the system. In that process, the fact-based part of the election infrastructure held.
Cada nuevo desafío agregó una capa de complejidad que obligó a los funcionarios electorales del condado a girar y adaptarse de la noche a la mañana.
They've also come up with this safe presidential election plan, which includes placing machines at least 6 feet apart and sanitizing the touch screens after each use.
Logan acknowledges there is work to be done to convince voters that the system is secure, especially with polls showing many fear their ballot won't be counted accurately.
This should make casting a ballot in person a lot easier, allowing voters more leeway in deciding when to vote. On top of that, any registered voter can cast a ballot at any vote center.
The fact that you were able to see such great venues across the city, and just the fact that you can now think back and think, whoa, I saw the Dodgers there and I voted there. I think it brought an extra kind of cherry on top to the whole process that was so great and, is the fabric of Los Angeles.
I think what's great about that, and what I'm particularly proud about for our organization, is that the VSAP model, the agility that was built into the VSAP model, was to recognize that we don't always know what we're going to face, and we need to be able to deliver despite those challenges.
Thank you very much.
Stick to time.
Oh yeah, please.
That's the best part, right?
That's right. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks for volunteering.
Absolutely.
There's a joke in the election community, which is that one day we'll run a perfect election and no one will notice. I think we went from very rocky primaries across the country to really beautifully run elections.
There was this very cool moment because I was able to vote on something that I helped bring about. I went to vote and my daughter was sitting behind me, and my wife said, Papa helped design this. And that was this really cool moment.
I'm an avid voter, and I am one of those people that enjoys the voting experience. I vote with my mom. My mom speaks Spanish, votes on the Spanish language ballot. I didn't have to help her for the first time, and she walked away pretty much over the moon. The fact that she was able to do it on her own. So that was great. It made this whole process worth it.
It's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people.
En las semanas y meses que siguieron, las afirmaciones infundadas de fraude electoral y ataques directos a nuestras instituciones democráticas obligaron a los funcionarios a defender la integridad de las elecciones, una tarea facilitada en parte debido a la implementación exitosa del modelo VSAP.
The integrity of the election rests on, as I like to say, good election laws expertly implemented. The placement of polling places was carefully thought out. Things like what data get reported to the public was carefully thought out. I do think LA County is a model for innovation in voting technology, absolutely.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right? And so you guys all pulled together and you were able to pull off an amazing event. You're the light on the hill for everyone across the nation to look at how well we pulled off our election.
The real lesson of this project is that this work is never done. We have to continue to pay attention, to listen, and to break down the barriers that hold people back from voting, and address the security concerns and address the accessibility concerns. We made big steps in doing that with the VSAP project, but that work is ongoing and will continue going forward.